Now, I know most of you have played some kind of board games growing up, or maybe now, maybe do it as a family. And because some of you play board games, chances are you probably have played Monopoly, right? Everybody loves a 14-hour game of Monopoly, which is full of arguments and confrontation. Really what Monopoly ends up being is a war of attrition. Who can outlast the other the longest? And that's kind of what I'm going to talk about in this show. No, we're not talking about Monopoly, but we're going to talk about attrition. Stay tuned. See what I'm talking about here. Many of you guys know that I have been in the gun industry professionally since 2016. I started the podcast with two other gents in 2018, and I still try to be as involved as possible in the 2A community. I try to keep a pulse on what's going on. In those few years, it seems like this year, 2025, is probably the best shot I have seen, at least in recent history.
You sure about that?
Of the fortification of our Second Amendment right. Now, we have had some good decisions, like through the courts and such, over the last few years that help define things and help us to fortify a lot of the stuff that we understand in the Second Amendment, like Bruin and Heller and Caetano, those kind of things. Those are Supreme Court decisions, by the way. We'll look at some past videos if you want to learn a little bit more about those. But there has been some great bills introduced in this session that could really impact how we enjoy our Second Amendment rights. And I think we should talk about them. There's some other things we need to talk about that are going on that are keeping these things from happening. And yeah, it's Republicans that are keeping these bills from working their way through, and we'll get into that in a minute. But let's talk about them. I'm not going to do a deep dive on each one of these bills, except for one. We might do a little bit depending on time. But let's talk about what's going on. First off, let's talk about the Hearing Protection Act, or the HPA. Now, I'm going to refer to my notes because I want to make sure I get things as correct as possible for you. So if I'm not looking at you directly, I'm looking at my notes. So this bill was introduced. Actually, this is not the first time this bill or one like it has been introduced, but it's HR 404, and it was introduced in the Senate, or excuse me, in the House. And then the Senate side is S 364. Now, what this is exactly what we've talked about before. The Hearing Protection Act is meant to take the suppressors out of the NFA category. Now, to still do a background check, but no more $200 tax stamp. No more submitting photographs, no more all this other bullshit to wait forever, indeterminate amount of time. Now wait times are far less, but I remember a time when it was 14, 16, 18 months to wait for a suppressor, or the approval for the suppressor to come back to you, which is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So what the Hearing Protection Act, the goal of the bill here is to take suppressors out of the NFA and to make them more available to people to enjoy. Now, let's talk about, I know we've talked about this a little bit before. Suppressors don't take out 100% of the noise. It's not like the movie scenes where you can't hear anything, that the gun is super quiet. There are some rounds and certain rifles that are amazingly quiet, but there's still some noise associated. Nice thing about some suppressors is they bring down, and it really depends on the gun, the round, the suppressor, a combination of things, but it brings down the decibel rating 20 to 30, maybe 40 decibels, which is great. Not necessarily hearing safe. Some of them are amazingly quiet, but not all suppressors attached to every gun are going to be movie quiet. And a tool for assassins, like the left continues to make them sound like they're extremely deadly. They're just an attachment. It's a muffler for our gun. That's all it is. Another thing that the Hearing Protection Act is for, or in this bill is dedicated to, is the Pittman-Robertson Act. So many people don't realize, and didn't know until I got in the industry, I didn't know this, but when you buy ammo and that kind of stuff, the taxes accrued on those things actually go towards wildlife preservation, the Pittman-Robertson Act. With the purchase of suppressors, the authors of this bill want to use the taxes from suppressors to go into that Pittman-Robertson Act. So as far as hunters and conservationists, it's a win. Like, this goes towards that, which I think is fantastic. Now, Ben Klein, he was the one that, from Virginia, he's a representative from Virginia. He's the one that dropped the House Resolution 404, and it was in January. It has 38 co-sponsors, which is great. Now, Mike Crapo from my state, Idaho, introduced to the Senate, Senate 364. And he also has 28 co-sponsors. So it's got a little bit momentum behind that, but not enough. We need more people that we voted in that should be voting for our rights. There's a lot of Republicans mixed in there that aren't doing their job. They're kind of holding this back. We need to contact everyone, and I'll talk about where this committee is being stumbled here, or where, in what committee this bill is being stifled. By the way, it's the Ways and Means Committee and some of the Finance Committee. We need to contact those idiots in the Ways and Means and say, hey, get your butt in gear. We voted you guys in. This was a resolution vote, and you need to do what we hired you to do. That's the point of you being there. So anyway, it pisses me off when I think about this. I wanted to jump in here for just a second. I'm wearing a different shirt. This is actually the day after I recorded. The original part of this episode I recorded yesterday, which would be the 7th of May. As I'm editing this right now, it's the 8th, the night of the 8th. And I just noticed here on X that Coleon Noir, in fact, let me see if I can share this screen. Hopefully it'll let me do this real quick. Yeah, Coleon Noir just made mention that that Republicans, surprise, surprise, just blocked the bill. So you can see that the Republicans do not give a crap about you. Very few care about you and your rights. I didn't watch Coleon's video. I was trying to get this video out sooner. I wish I would have got it out yesterday. But at least a few hours ago, there was a bunch of Republicans in the Ways and Means Committee that didn't care about your rights. They're happy to run on 2A rights until they have to actually put up or shut up, and then they cower like the weaklings that they are. Or they just think that you don't need to protect yourself, and your Second Amendment only goes as far as hunting birds or something. It's frustrating, super frustrating, but we'll just keep going with the videos, keep watching, and yeah, we'll just go from here. It's super stupid. Yeah, we need to wake up, and we need to hold these people accountable, hold their feet to the fire. Super lame. Now, again, the House Ways and Means Committee, that's been the wall. Actually, this bill and the next one we're going to be talking about is the Ways and Means Committee. I don't know why they're stalling. Let's be honest. I really do feel like that there are many on both sides of the aisle that do not want you to have your 2A rights. They want us disarmed. They know better. They can protect us, which never works out well. Nonetheless, now it's kind of funny because the NRA's kind of chimed in on this, as well as the American Suppressor Association, and they've pointed out that in other countries that have more restrictive gun laws, you buy suppressors over the counter. They're in like a blister pack. It's uncouth to hunt without a suppressor. Yet here in the United States, where we have a very prolific 2A culture, gun culture, you can't get one without an asinine amount of work to exercise a right that the government didn't give you. God did. And the Constitution was written as a restriction on government, but they forget that part. There's something about the little connection when they go to Washington, D.C. that kind of switches off, and they think that they know better than us. But again, we hired them to do it. Now, I assume, or I imagine that there is, if there's some kind of resistance to this, they're going to try and put this into a must-pass bill so they can avoid the filibuster or whatever, right? Which is fine. We should be playing the same kind of baseball that the left has been playing for years. They're always sneaking in BS stuff into a must-pass bill. So I'm hoping that Republicans are planning on playing the same kind of game, that they're going to try and push this. If it doesn't make it through the normal, hearing process through the Senate, that they're going to shove it in a must-pass bill so that it can go to president's desk. Now, will the president sign it? I don't know. The last time this really came up was right around the Las Vegas shooting, and we saw how a lot of things changed after that. Sad deal. Somebody does some men do something. Some people, what does she say? Some people do something. On Omar, different story. Will Trump sign it? Maybe. I don't know. I'm hoping so. I'm hoping it makes it to his desk. I think he probably will sign it. He better, because he made promises his first, right after the election, when he said his first few days in office, he was going to make some big changes to the Second Amendment to help fortify it for us as citizens. We'll see. We'll see. Here's the real nitty gritty. If you want to see the Hearing Protection Act move forward, actually go someplace, you need to call your representation. You need to call your representatives. You just Google the dang phone number on the White House switchboard. Tell them who you represent or what state you're from. They'll get you to the right senators, and tell them that you want them to support this bill. They pay attention to you. The problem is the anti-gun crowd is so loud and so obnoxious that it seems like they have more support than the Republican side, than the pro-2A side. Get on the phone and call your representatives and tell them to pass this stinking bill. It's a great bill. I think it has probably the best chance now than ever, that at least since the previous couple times it's been introduced. 2025 is supposed to be our turn, right? It's supposed to be. So be loud and be respectful, but make your voices heard. There are representatives for a reason. They represent us. So they're not going to do their job if we don't tell them what to do. All right, let's jump to the second thing that I wanted to talk about. We have talked about this before, because I remember using the video that I'm going to place in this same thing, and it's the SHUSH Act.
Shush!
Right? This has been here before. We have talked about this before, but it has been reintroduced this year. Let's see. It is HR 850, okay, and then Senate 345. So if the Hearing Protection Act, if you think that's big, the SHUSH Act should really make you all sorts of giddy and excited.
That's what she said.
Now, the Hearing Protection Act was designed to take the suppressors out of the NFA, where the SHUSH Act was to just completely gut the NFA altogether, meaning you can just buy a suppressor like you're buying a site or a magazine or whatever. It's an accessory. Now, in reality, this bill has a bigger fear factor than the Hearing Protection Act. People are going to freak out about this, right? You're going to make assassins everywhere available. You know the deal. You can just hear the liberals crying about this. Now, Michael, was his name Michael Cloud, in the House, he's the one that's really pushing this through. And then Mike Lee from Utah on the Senate side is trying to make this happen. Co-sponsorship isn't as great on this one as it is on the HPA, but you never know. This might be something, and if the Hearing Protection Act actually goes through, maybe the SHUSH Act will be more likely to be pushed through as well. I don't know. Lots of gun rights groups are already on board with this and the Hearing Protection Act. They want things to happen. They're fighting for us, unlike some of the people we hire in Washington to work for us. Like FPC and these places, GOA, they're all fighting for us to get stuff like this passed. Even the NRA is actually trying to do something with this, which is kind of mind-boggling if you think about it, because they haven't done a damn thing for years. And maybe now that Wayne's gone, it might be a little bit different, because they got a lot of work to do, and they got to fix a lot of fences that Wayne tore down. But anyways, that's besides the point. Again, I really like the idea of the SHUSH Act just completely taking the suppressors out of the NFA. Totally cool. I'm totally down with that. But again, in reality, there's not as many co-sponsors on this, because I think it's a scary sounding bill. So it's probably really has a snowflake chance in hell of making it through. But you never know. You never know. Again, the biggest bottleneck, the thing that's slowing this down is the House Ways and Means Committee. Again, And the Republicans in these committees are the ones that are stonewalling this.
Would you look at that? Would you look at it? I was so mad.
Same thing. Call them. Call them. Get on the phone. Tell them to get off their butts and do what you hired them to do. There's no reason whatsoever that Republicans, again, they saw the mandate election. That's what this was all about. We expected them to fix the crap that had been torn down over the last 4 years, even before that, honestly, to fix it. That's why they're there. So we need to be very loud and we need to be passionate about our 2A rights. So get on the phone and tell them to make this happen.
Dear Darla, I hate your stinking guts. You make me vomit. You're a scum between my toes. Love, alpha.
What do you guys think? Do you guys think the Hearing Protection Act or the SHUSH Act have a chance in this committee or in this session, excuse me? Do you think it's even possible that these are going to pass? I don't know. I have my doubts personally, but you tell me. Jump in, whether it be on the comment section below or even on my X account. I really try to engage with people on the X account. By the way, it's @RangeMinded on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Let's have a conversation. Let's see what you guys think. I am curious to hear what you have to say. What's happening? It's Steve with the Range Minded Podcast, and I'm here to share with you a goal that I have for 2025. Now, I've been doing the podcast now since 2018. That's a long time. But it's been kind of a lull as far as people actually subscribing to the show. So I set a goal for this year to hit 1,000 subscribers on each of my YouTube and my Rumble channel. Now, a lot of you people already follow me on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or even TikTok. But very few of you guys actually follow me on where you can watch the show. So do me a favor. As soon as this video is over, jump over to the YouTube channel, jump over to the Rumble channel and hit subscribe. That would mean the world to me. It may not be much to you, but it is a lot to me. Help me achieve my goal of 1,000 subs this year, and all your wildest dreams will come true. There might be some kind of a disclaimer after that, but you get the point. Anyways, thanks, guys. Take somebody shooting, and as always, stay range-minded. See ya. Okie dokie. So we've talked about two very pro 2A bills that have been introduced. 100% for both of them. Now, it would be unfair for me to spread this good news without pointing out something that the Democrats, which they never cease, honestly, but they've reintroduced the assault weapons ban, almost recycling the assault weapons ban of 1994, but I'm sure this time they will not include the sunset provision that was in the first one. Now, actually, I want to show you this because this is ridiculous. Hold on just a second here. Like I said in the beginning, if we had some time, I wanted to really dive into this because I think it's important for you to see how in depth the Democrats want to be in dismantling your rights. And I'm not even all Democrats, the extreme liberal Democrats, the ones that don't think you should have anything and the government should be able to provide everything. I don't want to be too boring with this part of the show, but I want you to really see what the issue is. So let me do this here. All right. So this is the bill. This is the new assault weapons ban of 2025. Now, Adam Schiff and let's see, Murphy, I can't remember that guy's first name, Blumenthal, who's amazing, Padilla, like these guys all teamed up, and then on the other side of the aisle too, senator and representatives from both Democrats here, they've really pushed hard to make this thing happen. So this is actually an extremely long document. But most of it is definitions and exact firearms that fall inside this provision or this bill. So this is going after absolutely every semi-automatic firearm, not assault rifle, not just AR-15s and AKs, though they are all specifically named in this document. And I mean every brand imaginable, every manufacturer imaginable is notated in this bill. But we're talking semi-automatic handguns, semi-automatic shotguns, even some 22s, rimfires. It's literally everything. Now, this several, 10 pages of definition really defines exactly what is going to be illegal under this bill. Again, it's literally everything. And when I say pages, I'm talking, there is, I jump all the way down, 126 pages to this bill, and almost every page is definitions and, my computer froze up. Definitions and examples of things that are going to be naughty to the left here. All right. Hopefully I didn't lose a bunch of that. Man, that was weird. Anyway, yeah, as you can see, there are 100 and something pages of just definitions of every possible gun mixed in here. It is asinine. So, the assault weapons ban, right? This is Adam Schiff. He took so much guff, shit. He took it a lot on, especially X, but probably every social media app out there. Well, first of all, he's a moron, right? We already know this. And the funny thing about the left, when they introduce bills like this, assault weapons ban, they're always going to do a bunch of things. Well, actually, whenever they talk about assault weapons, anytime, and I use that term as loosely as they do in this case, first of all, they jump right to the 1994 version of this crime bill. And here's something else that's interesting. I might as well share this with you too. This is from the Crime Prevention Research Center. And it talks about, let's jump over here. Let's get it more centered. First of all, that's a fantastic website. You gotta spend some time there to actually extrapolate some of the nonsense and make sense of it, which the Crime Prevention Research Center does a very good job. And you can see on these bar graphs here, they've gone through what Biden went through, right? Which they always say that the assault weapons ban of 1994, there was way less shootings with assault weapons during that time. Well, not really exactly. I wish you could see my mouse. Oh, there it is. You can see my mouse now. So this first one, right, before and during the assault weapons ban. So each one of these bar graphs, the hash lines are from 84 to 94. The gray is from 94 to 2004, and the dark is from 2004 to 2014. So a decade in each one of these things. So let's jump here on this very first one on the far left, right? Attacks with assault weapons was the same for 10 years, right? 20 years, from 84 to 94, and then from 94 to 04, this is during the assault weapons ban. And then after, right, you see an increase. This is, well, there you go. See, after the assault weapons ban expired, everything increased, right? No, not necessarily. And I'll pull these graphs down here below where it actually goes through these numbers. Check this out. These are corrected. Now this is the left, as always, they cherry pick the numbers that they want to. So again, same thing. The hash lines are 84 to 94. The gray is from 94 to 04. So the gray would be during the assault weapons ban. And then the darker bar is 04 to 14. Attacks with assault weapons. Okay, this is according to Mother Jones. Attacks with assault weapons. They were higher that decade from 84 to 94, and they dropped. Well, they were already going down. They dropped in 04 or 94 to 04, and then they popped back up in in 2004 to 14. But here's the thing. They were already low when it came to their definition of assault weapon. Any other weapon, any other firearms, that didn't change. It was no different from 84 to 94, and then really from 94 to 04. But in 2014, it increased, so we think. But here's the reality. Look at this. Assault weapons or mass shootings, according to the Crime Prevention Research Center, all this was adjusted and all the numbers were really dove into. During the assault weapons ban, there were more mass shootings than there were after. In fact, post-ban was less than the decade between 84 and 94. So they're always trying to fib to you, saying that during the assault weapons ban, mass shootings went down. No, just the way they read the numbers, they went down because they choose to cherry pick what numbers they look at. But in reality, no, they didn't. They actually went down after the assault weapons ban when there were more guns available to law-abiding citizens. So again, with this assault weapons ban of 2025, they're definitely attacking any kind of scary assault weapon with grenade launchers and chainsaw bayonet and barrel shrouds. They're still on this fixation of barrel shrouds. Okay, is it that shoulder thingy that goes up? I don't know. And then they're attacking magazines over 10 rounds. Anything detachable would now be considered an assault weapon. Large feeding device. And we're talking even Glocks. The handgun thing was in the assault weapons ban. Look for it yourself. You can dig it up and look at the text yourself. It's any handgun that uses the energy from a spent round to eject and cycle in a new round. Any semi-automatic handgun would be considered an assault weapon. Absolutely asinine. And they do this as a dragnet, right? And the left always does this. They go to this far extreme and then allows the bill to be pared down, and they get a little bit of what they want. And then they do this again and again and again. It's a game that they play because the Republicans that are supposedly 2A don't push back enough. Like, this is a garbage bill. Everybody knows it's a garbage bill. And honestly, in 2025, it has a snowball chance in hell of actually passing. Trump wouldn't sign it if it hit to his desk. At least he better not. Again, his track record really isn't that great. So he very well could sign an assault weapons ban and then try to tell us it was a good thing. He's done stuff like that in the past. But I don't think there's enough Republicans in the Senate to overcome the filibuster. And anything could happen. Anything could happen. Don't be surprised if there's some kind of a tragedy right before this bill is really going to be pushed and read through Senate. And don't be surprised. Like, that kind of stuff has happened before. One of the big issues with this bill is Schiff. He's got 37 Democrats that have co-sponsored this, but Macbeth on the House side, she's got 100 co-sponsors. So there's and why she has 100, I don't know. I don't know how she did that, but she's awful. She's hideous. We listened to her through, maybe you don't remember her, but we did listen to her and watch her through some of the Dettelbach hearings. She's a nightmare. It's hopefully, again, this is going to be dead on arrival. Really, Republicans need to get on the ball. Again, we need to be calling our representation and saying, don't vote on stuff like this. This is a no-go for the citizens of the United States who are legally obeying the law, right? We're pro-2A and we obey the law. Hundreds of millions of guns, somewhere around 500 million guns are owned to the public in the United States, around 100 million gun owners. That number's probably a little bit higher. I don't think a lot of people say they own guns when they actually do. A lot of Democrats own guns that are pro-2A. I know a lot of times in the community, the 2A community, we think it's strictly a conservative or Republican thing. That's not true. There are a lot of pro-2A Democrats. It seems like there's a lot more liberal ones now that are in their way in Congress, But for the blue dogs down south, at least I don't know, maybe they don't exist anymore. I think they still do. That there should be a lot more vocalization. Really, the problem is, not to get too political, but it's the reality of the show sometimes, is most people just vote party lines and they don't really dig into what these people are doing once they get into office. That's why it's so important for us to pay attention. And that's why I try to bring these things to your light so you can see, hey, this is not cool. Now, I know there's 100 other YouTubers talking about this right now, 100 other podcasters, but that's important. I don't feel like my voice is getting lost in the crowd. I think it's important for more of us to speak up and talk about this because we can't afford to give up any of our rights. It's imperative that we make our voices heard on this. So call your reps, tell them to not vote on the assault weapons ban of 2025. Now, I can't leave you hanging with a downer like the assault weapons ban. There are some other good ones, not just the SHUSH Act and the Hearing Protection Act, but there's other stuff that's kind of not being talked about as much that we probably should at least shed some light on. One of them is the Protecting the Second Amendment Act. There's part of this bill is to help low-income people that are on like federal housing to allow them to have firearms to protect themselves. And I think this community, it gets marginalized, but I think it gets kind of ignored at times. These people, the Second Amendment applies to all citizens of the United States, no matter whether you live in your own house or government housing. Government housing should not change your rights in any way. So that's what this Protecting the Second Amendment Act is for, is to help these folks that are living in subsidized housing and making it illegal for the landlords or whatever, the government, from keeping these folks from defending themselves with a firearm, which is a right granted by God and restricted by the Constitution from the government meddling with. They seem to forget that often. Along with the SHUSH Act and everything else, there has been some buzz lately talking about just completely gutting the Hughes Amendment altogether, allowing citizens to own anything they can afford, right? Machine guns, full autos, M2s, whatever, which I agree with. Like, the government has no right to tell me what I cannot own in this aspect. The Second Amendment is clear, in my opinion. I'm an absolutist. Yeah, those things are extremely expensive. If you've ever looked at or tried to see how much like an MP5 full auto costs, you realize that's very restrictive for most people. You get into a Browning or a Maxim machine gun, something like that. These are expensive. They're extremely expensive. Not everybody's just going to go buy one. It's going to be cost prohibitive for many. And I think that's where the restriction takes place, is in the market. The government shouldn't be telling us what to do. They shouldn't be telling us what to say either. So same thing. Shall not be infringed means shall not be infringed. So I guess it comes down to this. Is 2025 going to be a win for the 2A community? Or is it just going to be the same old, same old? Maybe not losing any ground, but not really gaining any ground either. Obviously, anytime the Republicans offer to compromise, we lose because they compromise our rights away. There's never a win for us when it comes to compromisation with the left. They're always taking way more than they should be, which is anything whatsoever. But is this going to be good for us this year? I don't know. Again, I hope so. I have my doubts. I have my doubts for sure. The left is very good at bringing Moms Demand Action and the Brady Bill group and all these. They're very good at bringing the anti-gunners out and being very vocal and very in your face. Where the pro-gun side, we can be, but we tend to be a little bit more subdued. And, some of us have jobs. We can't really just show up in the middle of the day. There's an issue with that because the squeaky wheel always gets the grease. And that's why I'm saying get on the phone, call your representation, and let them know how you feel. This presidency, again, Trump made a huge promise when he came into office on his second term that the pro-2A side would see amazing things happen. I haven't seen those things. I haven't seen any real suggestion of those things. He has made some good There was the executive order protecting gun rights. That's great. That's great. But an executive order is only worth the paper it's printed on. Once that president leaves office, a new president comes in, and those executive orders are thrown out the window. They mean nothing. It is really just a placebo to the community when, a president throws out a Pro 2A executive order. Congress needs to act. At least, the very minimum, at least pruning the ATF's budget back dramatically, which Trump said he's going to do a 28% reduction on the ATF and other federal agencies that are supposed to be getting a huge reduction in funding. That's not quite enough. I want to see the ATF, if not completely gutted, neutered, and only a small group of ATF agents exist and then supplemented with local sheriff's offices or whatever, and the FBI, that kind of thing. And maybe not at all. Maybe the ATF is just completely worn out its welcome. I don't like the way the ATF has been run over the years. I feel like it was near Gestapo, right? It was some of the stuff they done, and I'm talking at the very top, was disgusting, right? Going after people like Matt Hoover and Dexter Taylor. Actually, ATF didn't go after Dexter Taylor. That was a state thing. But nonetheless, they've gone after and fabricated things like Adirondack, what was the name? The Navy guy that was going to be the Navy SEAL. They said he had a machine gun, and they took stuff out of the ATF's warehouse to make guns that weren't functionable. And one was just a toy, a replica, unfunctionable replica. They put parts into that gun to make it fire. His RPG that he had, they put a training round barrel in there that shoots a blank, saying, yeah, that's a functioning rocket launcher. Well, it completely wasn't. The ATF has done some very underhanded things. Again, look at Matt Hoover and Chris, I can't remember the other guy's name in that lawsuit. The ATF was completely underhanded in that thing. Grossly misrepresented the evidence, and it was completely repulsive. And with Dexter Taylor's case, again, the ATF initially was going to go after Dexter when they saw there was no violations that the ATF could prosecute Dexter for. They decided to completely let him go, but the state of New York decided they were going to push it, and we all know how that turned out. Dexter is now in prison when he shouldn't be there. He's a political prisoner, in my opinion. So free Dexter Taylor, free Matt Hoover, and let's not do this frivolous BS anymore. It's so aggravating. But again, what makes me super nervous is the Ways and Means Committee and the Finance Committee and all these places that these bills go to die. We can't have that anymore. We have to hold these people accountable that we've hired to do a job, and they're not doing it, right? Whether they're getting pressure from special interest groups that they're a part of, or they're worried about being too pro-gun and hurting somebody or whatever, that's real. And I'm tired of these squishy Republicans who only are pro 2A during the election cycle, and then they go back to the norm. We can't have that anymore. You have to hold these people accountable for what they're doing for you. And if they're not doing what we ask, we vote them out, we primary them out, and we bring somebody who is willing to do the job the way that the American public wants the job done. What do you guys think? What have I missed? Is there something in particular that you're worried about that I didn't talk about when it comes to whether it be the Hearing Protection Act or the SHUSH Act or the Protect the Second Amendment Act or the Assault Weapons Ban of 2025? I want you guys, seriously, I want you to look at that bill, especially the Assault Weapons Ban that Schiff presented. You need to understand it. You need to understand exactly what that bill encompasses, because they like to use these little scary words, and then they slip every freaking semi-automatic firearm that's ever existed into that bill. That's unacceptable. Not to mention pistol grips and telescoping stocks and barrel shrouds and bayonet lugs and magazines more than 10 rounds, including cylinder magazines. This is unacceptable. This is unacceptable, and we need to make our voices heard. Again, the left is happily parades, Parkland victims, happily. Like they dance on the graves of kids that died, innocent kids that died from a psychopathic murderer. But instead of focus on the psychopathic murderer, they focus on the tool, and they claim that is the device that makes everyone deranged, which we know it's not. We don't blame Budweiser for drunk driving accidents. We don't blame Big Pharma, which we probably should, for a lot of things that go on in the medical system. It's not the gun. That's just an inert tool that's being used by a psychopath. And we understand that. I know you understand that. But that's why it's so frustrating. And I'm hoping to gin you up to say, okay, let's make things happen. Let me call my senator, because this is bullshit. Like, it's unacceptable that we've hired these people to do something and they don't do it. If you were an employer in any other business, well, I guess I was going to say government's not really a business, but I think it kind of is for some folks. If it was any other industry, that employee would be fired, would be streamlined, it would be gone. Why do we tolerate this from people that this is far more important than the company I work for? This is your freedom. This is my children's freedom. This is a bigger deal than work. Without freedom, you don't have a job anyway. So if you're going to let these idiots run ramshot right over your face, then what's the point, right? You got to make your voices heard. There it is. Like I said, from the very beginning, this is really a two-way war of attrition. It's outlasting your opposition. Just like that stupid game of Monopoly that lasts hours and hours and hours. The goal is to just try and outlast the other guy and then win at the end. We have to do our part to win at the end. This isn't a good versus evil. This is a freedom versus tyranny issue, which maybe is good and evil. The left is happy to take every possible right away from us because they don't want us to have autonomy. Again, I think both sides of the aisle don't want us to have guns. There are a select few that still understand the importance of the Second Amendment. But I think long run, they don't give a damn because they want to be the ruling class. That's not what this country was founded on. By the way, we're not a democracy. We're a republic. Not once has the word democracy does it appear in any of the founding documents. It does appear in the Federalist Papers, but if you dig into it, it's written in a negative connotation because the founders understood a democracy will then lead to something that ends up being the majority rules, which then end up becoming into a tyrannical leadership where the little guy has no voice and he's just repressed by the masses. That's not the way this government was designed. It was designed for all people to have a voice, a representation of the people, a republic. We need to understand that, and don't let the left take control. Don't let them change the words in the dialogue, because when they control the language, they will control the argument, and we can't secede that ground. We live in a republic, not a democracy. I don't care what they say. That is reality. Nonetheless, with all these bills, with all this talk, I really want to hear what you guys have to say. What do you think? Does the Hearing Protection Act have any chance? Does the SHUSH Act have any chance? What do you like about these bills that are being presented? What about the assault weapons ban? Do you think it has some teeth? I don't trust the government. I think this has a greater ability to have some bite in the future than the Hearing Protection Act or the SHUSH Act. We've seen those play out before, and nothing. We didn't get anything out of them. I hope things change. I hope with this Congress things do, but I want to hear what you guys have to say about it. And how you feel about maybe your particular politician where you live. Is he pro-gun or she? Or are they leaning more on the left side where they try to disarm you? What about the Second Amendment Protection Act, about these folks that are trying to fight to defend themselves in, subsidized housing? I didn't even think about that until I was researching this episode. There's a lot out there that could potentially change the 2A forever. Honestly, both directions. When we started the show way back in the Wayback Machine, 2018, I don't remember what episode it was, but it's when we had Ricky and Mark there, the three of us that started the show. And I remember saying that and I'm pretty sure it was on an episode, maybe it was off air, But I told them in 10 years, the Second Amendment is not going to be as we knew it now, meaning back in 2018. And I feel like it has changed since 2018 to 2025. We've seen a ton of attacks on our rights, and we can't sustain that anymore. We have to not compromise. We have to win. We have to demolish the enemy. We have to win the war of attrition on our Second Amendment rights, because that goes to our next generation, right? These future leaders that we have growing up, I have such confidence in some of these kids that some of them display great leadership and great understanding, better than most people in Congress right now. And I hope to see them in future leadership. But with that, we need to install the importance of the Second Amendment, because kids in school are being taught how scary and dangerous and awful and evil guns are without understanding the actual fight against tyranny side of the Second Amendment. It's not about hunting. I know you know this. It has nothing to do with hunting or target shooting. It has everything to do with repelling tyranny. That's how our founders saw it. That's why it was installed in the Bill of Rights, because they just left a tyrannical government and they needed those arms. The whole purpose of the Battle of Concord was to disarm the rebels in the United States, which wasn't the United States then, the colonies. And since then, I mean, that should be the biggest eye-opener about the ability to defend yourself against a tyrannical government was Concord and Lexington. Like, we fought and won against the largest military force in the world at the time. A bunch of ragtag, backwoods, disgusting peasants in the colonies repealed against a massive, massive juggernaut of a military at the time. It wasn't about hunting. It wasn't just about hunting. Like, they used their muskets to feed their families. It was about instilling peace to a free people and keeping the government in check. That was the point. All right, in the last few minutes, I'm going to be winding this down here. I know, I just want to be completely honest with you guys. Last week, I know I didn't get a show out last week, and I apologize. There was some, I don't know how to explain it. There was just some health issues that I was super tired, like a amazing amount of fatigue. It just wasn't going well. And the doctor helped me out with a couple of things. I had a physical, and we looked at some other stuff because of the scare that I had last year. And things were going really good. And then today, man, I feel like utter dog poop. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Maybe you can tell I'm a little bit tired. My voice always goes out by the end of the show, but yeah, I don't know how to explain how I feel. And I'm really concerned that health issue that I had, starting in June last year is going to resurface. I really feel like that same kind of feeling in just the way my body feels. So I just want to be honest with you guys. So hopefully the schedule doesn't get disrupted too much. Hopefully I can keep producing shows for you guys. Just be patient with me as I try and figure out whatever the hell is going on with my body. It's super frustrating. Upcoming shows, like, I've got something that I'm not going to talk about yet because I don't know when it's going to come out. But this coming Saturday, I'll tell you this much: I'm going to do some video content with somebody else that should be pretty fun, should be cool. I'm going to take a camera along. That could be the next episode. I don't know. It depends on how much content I get and how much I have to edit. But that very well could be the next episode. I'm not going to talk about it here just because I don't know for sure. Also have something else potentially coming up. If you like to shoot handguns with red dots, I'm just going to kind of tease this a little bit. There could be something coming up within the next couple of weeks that you may want to save some time on your calendar. That would be fantastic. There'll be more details to come. I'll throw a short video up when all the details get hammered out. You should have been able to extrapolate what I was saying just when that cryptic communication there. Let's just bring this to a close. I really appreciate you guys. I'm so grateful that you spend time hanging out with me. I do this because I enjoy talking about freedom, about our Bill of Rights, about the country, and about the Second Amendment. I do this because I want to share my passion with the firearms community, or my passion with firearms to the rest of the 2A community. And if I can bring 1 or 2 people into the family, that's great. I think it'd be fantastic. I also enjoy every aspect of shooting a gun, whether it's the mechanics, the way that they're built, the smell. Like, I love everything about guns, and I want to share that excitement and passion with you guys. If you liked this content, go ahead and like and share, do all the things, right? Subscribe, all that stuff that everybody tells you to do. If you want to follow me on the social medias, again, you can jump on X, which is just @RangeMinded on X. I am most active on X, which I shouldn't be. On Instagram and Facebook is RangeMinded Podcast, @RangeMinded Podcast on both of those. And obviously YouTube and Rumble is RangeMinded Podcast. If you're listening on Spotify, same thing. Share, comment, follow, all that jive. It doesn't cost you a dime. It actually helps me a lot. It keeps me motivated for sharing more content. You guys are awesome. I appreciate everything you guys do to the 2A community. Keep it up. Keep your representation in tow. Tell them who's the boss, not Tony Danza. It's you, if you're wondering.
Hi, it's me again. I had to jump in at the end of this video. I don't know what happened. The last little bit of this conversation is gone. It disappeared. I don't know if the file got corrupted or what happened. But at the end of the monologue, I think I can remember what I was going to say. At the end of the monologue was, let's make this country as good as it can be, as close as it was in its inception. We have a responsibility as Americans. It's our job to keep this for the next generation, and we need to do our best to make that happen. And some of that is just being the best you that you can be. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Range Minded Podcast. I enjoyed making it. Again, some of the news changed between recording and editing, and that's just the way life is. Politics is a crazy game. Nonetheless, your rights are granted by the maker and not by the Constitution. The Constitution is what is supposed to stifle the government from taking those rights away from you. So learn from your founding fathers. Read and understand those documents. Read contemporary documents from the founders, and you're going to learn a lot. You're going to be incited, and you'll be able to talk to others in a more educated and balanced way. Anyways, you guys enjoy your the rest of your day, your night, or if you're sitting on the toilet, it's time to get up. Your legs are probably asleep. So, anyways, see you guys later.
And on the 3rd day, God created the Remington bolt-action rifle so that man could fight the dinosaurs and the homosexuals.
Amen.